So hello everyone, my name is Eurico Costa, I'm going to do a presentation on SQL inserts. I'm going to share my screen just to give you a little bit an introduction about me. I'm originally from Portugal. I've lived in the United States for about 12 years. And I live in Utah right now. I've been working in IT for the past 20 years, so I had some experience with SQL and a number of other languages and technologies. So I'd like to share a little bit with you about SQL and about SQL inserts. So I'm going to share my screen and just go over a couple of slides just to give a quick introduction of what SQL is. So Microsoft, SQL, it's pronounced SQL. It stands for Structured Query Language, and it's basically used to manipulate data in relational database management systems. It can be used to create new data. It can be used to create new structures within the database. So basically, create new tables, delete tables. So create data, delete data, select data, and it can be used in conjunction with an application, for example, written in Java, that issues SQL commands to a database to retrieve data from the database to show in the user interface in the application. Although the structure is pretty standard, each RDBMS, so each relational database management system, has its own flavor or implementation of SQL that has different nuances across these different RDBMSs. And RDBMSs can be the ones that are most common. You have Oracle, you have Microsoft SQL Server, you have MySQL, which is now also an Oracle product, but there's also an open source version of it, and IBM's DB2, and there are more out there. So there are slight differences in SQL between these several RDBMSs. So what I'm going to be talking about, and it's the subject of our class, it's MySQL. So SQL inserts, basically it's a statement that it's used to create a new record within a table or a row of data within a database table. The SQL insert can insert data by providing the actual values that are inserted, and this is called insert by values. Or you can actually also use a query to determine the records that will be inserted into a table. This is called insert by queries. So insert by values is usually the most common way to insert values into a database. Usually you would insert one row of data into a table as part of some application process, but you can also insert multiple rows. So MySQL supports multiple row inserts with a single insert statement, either by query or either by value. So insert by values, this is an example of how it works. Allows the insertion of a data into a database table. If a list of columns, as in the first example, is not provided, then the order of the values that are entered, it matters a lot, because by default the template that is going to be used, it's called a template. It's going to be the order as these columns are structured in the database table. I'll show an example of that in a little bit. If a list of columns is provided, as in the second example. As you can see, it says insert into rental, which is the table name. You have the name of the columns that you're inserting: customer ID, checkout date, rental item ID, date created, created by. Then in the values, within the values section of the insert statement, would follow the order that you specify in the list of columns. Excuse me. To insert data, to use a SQL insert by query, it's very simple. So you follow the same principle. If you define the name of the columns that you're inserting, like in this example, insert into table night ID, night name, kingdom allegiance ID. You need to make sure that the return of the select statement follows the same order of the columns. So in this case, we have select null, and in MySQL, if you have a column like the night underscore ID, which will automatically create an index, not an index, but a record ID automatically in the row that you're creating. You need to say that value is going to be null, so that the MySQL will accept that value as a flag, basically to generate a new ID for that record. So in this example, you're using the select statement, select null night name kingdom ID from table kingdom, where kingdom underscore name equals Narnia, to select the values that will be used with the insert statement to insert data into the table. Okay, let's see a couple of examples of inserting data into a table. So I've created two tables, okay, called person and person one, and I'm just going to right now just show what's in table person two, which right now, as you can see below, it's only one record. And in table person, I can easily do just in table person, there's 11 records. Okay, so I'm going to insert one row into the table person two. So, and I'm going the list of columns that I'm going to provide data for. It's right here. So person record ID, entry date, etc. And I am going to just change the data here. So I'm going to insert a record for John Doe. So this is an example of inserting by values. So I'm providing a name of the list of columns that I'm going to be inserting, and then the values for those columns. So I'm going to execute this SQL statement, this insert. Okay, and as you can see down here, one row was affected. So which means that in SQL Server, that MySQL Server, means that one row was inserted. So if we do a select now on person two, we see that there are now two records in the database table. Okay, they just happen to be both for John Doe, but there's a new record there. Okay, so this is an example of how to insert a record of data into a table by values. So the second example that I've got here is an example where I insert multiple records into the person2 table coming from a select statement that basically selects all the data that exists in the person table. So those 11 records that we saw before are going to be inserted using a SQL query. So basically an insert by query into person2. So I'm going to execute the query. Insert into person2. It says down here that 11 rows were affected. So 11 rows were inserted. And if I do a select on person2, you will see that we now have 11, actually 13 records. So the 2 original records that were there, plus 11 new records that came from the person table. So this is how it works. These are just a couple of simple examples of how you can insert data using the the insert statement from SQL. You can insert, in this example, one single record using an insert by values or an insert by query, and just insert a group of records into a table. There are many other ways of using the insert statement. As I said, you can insert the by values or by query without providing the list of columns as which is, it's called a template basically for inserting data into using the insert statement. But it's a very powerful statement to be able to add data to your tables. And that's it. If you have any questions, please post your questions on the discussion board, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.